Welcome, everybody, to what will be episode, this side, 203 on our customer experience, customer centricity YouTube channel. First, it'll be available to our paid Patreon subscribers, and then in about 2 weeks, available to the public on YouTube. Welcome to the people joining us live here in the Google Meet. And of course, before we get too far, I want to, as always, thank the people who are our Patreon subscribers. For as little as $1 American a month, you can get some fun perks and cool interactions. You can also join our Patreon free, which just ends up kind of functioning as our mailing list. Just a reminder for people to please mute and keep their cameras off. I don't know who has the woofing dog, but I certainly support the woofing dog. I'm all about the dogs. Is that you, Ricardo, with the woofing dog?
No.
No. Okay. I will click. I will have to mute people if it's not. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I have these great studio monitors in. Okay. So today is the impacts of service design on businesses and beyond. And I want to introduce our fantastically knowledgeable guest, who I promised that I might mispronounce, Ricardo Martins. And Ricardo, tell us all about you.
So thank you for inviting me, Debbie. It's a pleasure to stay here. So I'm your fan. I enjoy all your posts and your publications in your sincere spirit to share your knowledge with us. So thank you very much for inviting me. So my background is pretty long because I'm working in the field for more than 30 years. And but I came from Brazil. I was a graphic design professor in Brazil for 12 years in the university. And so, but at the same time, in parallel, I had my own company that used to do consultancy for companies. I had more than 300 projects that I did during my career in different areas for more than 50 segments. And so basically, I came from graphic design. I went to branding. From branding, I went to operations. From operations, I came to service design. So this is my journey. And I really enjoy services because branding usually promises things, but who delivers? Service deliver. So I really think about that. Today, people promise a lot, but they don't deliver what they promise. So service design is all about delivering what people are promising to customers, for people, and that's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Welcome. And I believe you're a professor at SCAD. You tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay, sorry for apologize for just forgetting the most important part. Yeah, so I'm service design professor now in Savannah College of Art and Design. That is a university, a big university here in Savannah, Georgia. And we have 16,000 students from 100 countries. And we are the only service design in the United States. And basically, as I know, the only BFA program in the planet. So we teach teenagers how to do service design, but we also have a lot of students that come from the graduate program. And I have been living in the United States for 3 years as a professor, and I acted also as the graduate coordinator for the master program.
Excellent. Great. So before we jump into the impacts of service design, some people live here today or watching our YouTube video later might not be totally clear on what service design is. Can you give us a great definition of it, please?
Okay. So the short definition that I prefer is that service design is all about making the world a better place. So, because you know what happens when services fail, the world becomes the worst place to live. So your life can become a nightmare when you go to the airport to pick a flight and something wrong happens, when you go to the restaurant and you just don't get your right meal, or it takes like eternity to deliver your food, when you want a transportation by Uber or bus, or when you need to go to a hotel. So all kinds of services that we have around us. So when they don't work, the world is not a good place to live. So services do the opposite, makes the world a better place. This is the short definition. But the technical definition is that service designers are organizers. We organize people, process, and physical evidence, that is the tangible aspect of the service, to improve the experience of service beneficiaries and service providers. So different from the other areas like UX design, service designers, they care a lot about employees, about the service providers who stays in the backstage that nobody see. So many areas, they think about users, about customers, but what about the people that deliver the service? So service design also cares about them. So basically we are organizers.
Love it, love it. It just sounds like my dream work. So I know you've brought some things you wanted to share your screen and show to people. We're sorry that we can't give these things out. It sounds like some of these things are kind of internal to some of the work that you do, but you can still share your screen and tell us a little bit about what types or how much impact can service design work have inside of a business.
Great. Okay, so look, in general terms, service design is very relevant for organizations for several reasons. Usually we say that the first reason is that we increase resilience. Resilience is what the difference between staying alive or dying during the pandemic, for example. Lots of services disappeared during COVID-19. And why? They had no resilience. So this is the first impact, to be alive or not. So resilience is the first reason. The second reason is the intelligent use of resources. So all companies, they organize resources. That includes people, that includes the physical space, objects, equipment, software, infrastructure, technology, etc. So those resources can be used with or without intelligence. So service design usually increase the intelligence. And another aspect that we increase is the consistency of experience. So you probably remember you go to a place that you like very much and you tell to your friends, hey, go there, they are amazing. And but when they go, it's a nightmare and you just don't know what happened. So lack of consistency is what is this. So one day the experience is a dream. In the very next day is a nightmare. Is a dream, is a nightmare, is a dream, is a nightmare. So this is lack of consistency. So basically, service design, they bring consistency like you have a predictable experience. And we also focus on value. So the impact comes not for the shareholders, the people that get money from the company, but we deliver value for customers, users, for employees, suppliers, and partners, so the community. So we have a holistic perspective. So everybody should have a value. And finally, we deliver impact in terms of simplifying complexity. So some services are too complex. So we can make them simpler. And when you do this, we can reduce costs, for example. So this is in a nutshell are the 5 elements. And we describe them with a metaphor, railroad to CVS. Why CVS, railroad to the pharmacy? Because there are the initial letters R. R is resilience, resources, consistency, value, and simplification. So we just to remember the 5 letters, we use this metaphor, RRCVS.
Excellent. I
So
love that. And by the way, as he
I
goes, if anybody has questions, put them in the chat room. I'll be moderating. Sorry, continue.
okay, so as I mentioned, I have some visuals here that I'd like to share with you. So very quickly, for example, this is a poster that I use. This is based on an article from Forbes.
I'm not
So
seeing your screen share yet.
not yet. Oops, sorry. I thought that
It's
I
okay.
got it. No.
No, it's
Can you
okay.
see it now?
Here it comes.
Perfect.
All right, we see it now. We see the Forbes image.
Exactly. So this is a big poster that brings lots of statistics. This is based on an article from Forbes. So basically, let's make your life easier. Let's see if this works. I will put this QR code. Try to use your phone now and take a picture of the QR code and see if you're directed to the real company.
Yeah.
And let it work.
50 statistics that prove the value of customer experience from September 2019. So, yes, that QR code does work.
Perfect. So this is the most interactive presentation I ever done. So basically, don't type links in the chat. So here you can see, based on this article, I need to apologize. I don't remember the author, but when you go there, you see who is she. She's a very good girl that writes about these topics.
It said Blake
So
Morgan, but I don't know what
yes,
gender that person is.
yes,
I'll have to
Blake.
check.
She's a writer.
Okay,
She has very interesting books about customer experience. So basically,
great.
she is saying the things that I mentioned before, so we can decrease costs.
Oh, I think we're a little frozen. Can people still see me? Emojis up or people in the chat?
Yes,
Okay.
And
I can hear you.
Sorry, Ricardo, you were a little frozen there for a moment. Can you step back? You were saying 20% less costs.
yes, so what I mentioned is that when you reduce costs, automatically you increase profit. If the price is the same and your costs go down, so you have a higher margin of profit. So another way to have better results is to increase your revenue. So 84% of companies that work to improve the customer experience report an increase in their revenue. So I'm not going to read all the numbers. So basically, if you go to the article, you see 50 different statistics that describe all those things, and they are very interesting. So this just for the sake of the numbers, if you want to show numbers for your boss in the company where you work to defend the value of service design, there is these posters from Deloitte. Basically, it was poster created to demonstrate which actions could generate value for the shareholder. The problem is we have a new theory called stakeholder that is different from shareholder. Stakeholder is not only the shareholder, but everybody that has a stake, that has a risk of being affected by your project. So this is about shareholders. That basically is what most companies they care about. But you need to remember that the shareholders are not the only ones that deserve value. So it talks about bringing this value by revenue growth, operating margin, asset efficiency. That basically is the operational efficiency, and expectations, managing expectations. So if you look at this poster, this is huge. Lots of different actions and initiatives that you can perform to bring value. So based on this, I created another chart that I included with this black rectangle. So what are the different parts or different strategies that are can be done by service designers that help to deliver this value? So can you see this thing? In fact, I
Yes.
don't like the expression. I don't like the expression deliver value because it seems that value is something ready-made that they just put in a box and send. But this is not true. Inside service design, we consider that value is always co-created. I must have at least two different parts in the system that work together to make the value to be what we say emergent. So the value is an emergent property of the system. So it's not based on a single element. So you need to have at least two elements. So let me give an example. So let's imagine that you want to pick a bus to go to a destination. So when the bus stop in the bus stop, you need to get into the bus, to get inside the bus. So if you don't do this and the bus departs, the value will not appear. What's the value? The transportation. So you need the bus, but we also need that the passenger do his or her part in this process. So only the interaction with the passengers together with the bus driver, enable the value to appear. That is the transportation. So that's why the expression deliver value is not necessarily the best one. Okay. So this is example. I brought this other chart that basically is shows this is based on the work of Ben Reason, in a book about service design and for business. And basically it describes your life. So when you are a baby, 0 years, 2 years, 6, 18, 25, 65. So what happens in your life is your human experience. And when let's imagine that one of your experiences is to travel to work. You need to travel to Washington, D.C. for a project. So in this moment, you use several services. This is what we call service constellation. So one of these services is made of several activities. And each activity is made of several tasks. And every task or single task is made of subtasks. So why is this important when you talk about value for the organization? Is because when one subtask does not work, the activity don't work. When the activity does not work, the service does not work. When the service does not work, the constellation does not work. And when constellation does not work, your life does not work. So, and the opposite is true. If I decide to eliminate the experience in your life, everything that is below disappear. So we must be careful in terms of making changes here. That usually this is what we call subset concept. When the subset concept change, this can create like a snowball effect, like eliminating everything that is below. So if you look into the left, you see that these three parts in the top is what it's a responsibility of service design. And this part in the bottom is responsibility of UX design. And when we have clarity about what are the subtasks, we can start creating the product backlog that will become the sprint backlog. And after we'll go for development. So here in this other chart, you can see how the things are connected. So how a single mistake in the bottom can affect your life in the top. And when affect your life, so this affects money of organizations and etc. So this is just a nutshell, some food for thought, okay? To entice you to learn more about service design.
Yeah, and I want to jump in with that for a moment because I know sometimes when people are interested in service design or customer journey mapping or service blueprints, they tend to think, well, it's important to just go fast. Why don't we just map out what we know about our users or customers and what we think their journey is or what we're confident their journey is, or maybe we'll just all get together and guess at it. What can you tell us about the pros and the cons of taking more of an assumptive or guessing approach to some of the mapping?
Excellent question. You are a service designer because you ask excellent questions.
Thank you. I accept.
Yes. So yes, this is a condition to be a good service designer. You must to ask good questions, and this is something that Debbie do very well. So
Thank you.
this is the thing. This is not a service design, but design in itself is can be assumption based, or it can be, how can I say, based on probability. So we never know if we have 100% of certainty about things. So basically, service designers, they create experiments to test hypotheses. So every idea that you create, that you imagine that has a possible solution for a problem, basically this is not the solution. This is a hypothesis for a solution. So, but we only know if it's reality, if it's true or not, if you expose this to reality and we get information, data, observation, and to test if this is assumption or not. So in fact, before testing, everything is assumption. Even what the customers say in the interviews, in the process of research, everything that we have basically is assumption, except something that was already tested. But if it was tested with another group of people, for example, I tested this with elderly people, I'm not sure if this will have the same effect or same impact on teenagers. And the opposite is true. The fact that I tested with teenagers is not a demonstration that we work with elderly people. So design is based on what we call abductive reasoning. Abductive basically means to make guesses about why things happen in a specific way. The difference between just speculation and reality is the hypothesis test. If you don't test your hypothesis, everything is speculation, basically. So this is my food for this.
Yeah, thanks. And I guess if we are making these maps or diagrams, we should really label them as assumptive or speculative so that people don't believe this is the Holy Bible. Are there any questions from the audience today? I know that very often the people attending our shows and webinars wonder things like, service design sounds like it would be perfect for me. How do I break into it?
So if they decide to learn about service design, so unfortunately we don't have too many courses or reliable courses, as Debbie already knows. So the majority of people learn service design in the job. So they pay attention to what their colleagues are doing. I think it's 73% of people, they learn service design, just pay attention to what others are doing. So if you are lucky and your colleague is doing the right way, you will learn the right way. But if your colleague is doing the wrong way, you will learn it wrongly. So my suggestion, if you want to break into design, service design, and to learn more about it, you don't have too many choices in terms of courses, but of course, SCAD is a possibility. In SCAD, we have the BFA, it's a program for 4 years. We have the MFA, is a program for 2 years. We have the MA, is a program for 9 months. And you can also take individual courses, that is one course only. You can go there and you choose what they call non-seeking degree, I think is the expression they use. Basically, you go there, you look to the catalog of courses, and I want to study this. So for example, SCAD has one course called 501, Service Design, Principles of Service Design. And this course is an introduction course for beginners. So it takes 50 hours and lasts 10 weeks. And you have the meetings that you need to attend to. And so this is opportunity to learn about service design, but they have other courses that are online. You don't need to go to Georgia. So this is a possibility. Another is to read books or to study by yourself. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, there is a page where I show a list of books that you can read to learn service design by yourself. And there are some isolated courses. I don't have a list right now, but if you want to reach me in LinkedIn, I can provide it for you, of isolated courses that teach you different skills. So we have good courses in the School of Good Services, and I think it's United Kingdom. Um, some courses from Mark Stickdorn that is specialized in customer journey maps, and those are the courses that come to my mind right now.
Okay, great. Thanks. And we do have a question from Karen who says, how do you optimize experiences for different types of people or personas? It seems that when creating an airport experience or service, it should be designed to work for almost everybody.
Excellent question, Karen. We have another service designer here. You are ready to go. Good question.
I can tell you
Yes.
he
So
is.
look, yeah. So this is a challenge. I completely agree, because if you pay attention to in service design but also in other kinds of design, they design for the average person. But we know the average person does not exist. We When you go to the flight and you need to sit in this in the to sit in the seat in the airplane, you remember, for example, I'm 6 feet tall. So my knees remember me that I'm not an average person. Every time I try to fit into the sardine space. And so basically you need to do research to map what are the different public that you have. The organizations, they don't design for 100% of people, so they use a process that we call trade-off. Trade-off, basically, they need to prioritize. So, okay, I have 100 kinds of customers or that comes to the airport. So it's not possible to design for everybody. So they will need to prioritize some publics based on their quantity. In some cases, they design based on regulations, on the law. So the law forces you to design for minorities, for people with disabilities, etc. So the law usually is the only way to convince a company that they need to create exception for 1% of the population. Because if not, if you don't have this law, they will design for the 80% of the customers, and 20% they will just ignore. This is the reality.
Great, thank you. And we do have another question from our friend Malika. And Malika asks, is the service design the same as experience design, for example, in a museum? If not, what's the differences between service design and experience design? Thanks.
Great. Excellent question, Malika. So look, the simplest way to explain the difference, what is an experience and what is a journey. So let's imagine that you want to describe the experience of pregnancy. So you are going to have a baby. So this process can take 9 months. In 9 months, you can use lots of services. You can have the service of transportation, hospitality, nutrition. You need to go to the doctor. You need to do some blood tests. So you can use maybe dozens, hundreds of services along 9 months. So this is the whole experience of of having a baby, the process of 9 months. So this is much longer. But each service, for example, if the mother that is pregnant needs to go to the doctor, will use one specific service. For example, I need an Uber. So Uber is one service that will help me in the whole experience of having a baby, because the Uber will take me to the hospital. So do you see? So usually customer journeys, they are shorter, and the experience they are not necessarily linked to one specific service. They can be a sequence of services. So did I answer your question?
I think if I understood it correctly, it sounds like experience design might be a subset of service design. Did I get that right?
Uh, in fact, we can understand experience like something that is above the service.
Oh,
Experience can be considered like a set or a group of services.
oh, okay.
So I can have several services in a row, and when you put them together, this can join and become the whole experience.
Oh, got it. So, okay, so I did backwards. So, when you have multiple services, they form that end-to-end experience.
Yes, but the word experience is not good because you can use experience for lots of things. So in the context of experience design, I can have this idea that experience is something bigger that is part of your life. But in the context of UX design, I don't know if this is what you meant, when you are describing the difference between service design and experience design. If you're talking about user experience design, that is usually user experience design works to improve specific tasks inside the service. So each service has several tasks. So when I improve one specific task, I can consider this UX design. And UX design is not only for apps, for websites, for digital. I have UX design, for example, or for remote control. So this is a piece of hardware. So the overall experience here can be better or worse. So I have experience design in this pen. So let's imagine that I needed to open it to to change the ink. So look, the process here is very difficult. It's not able to do this. So the experience here is not good. So in this context, experience has another meaning. So that's why it can be tricky to define this.
Got it. And we have time for one more question. Looks like it's coming from Maria. And she asks, what would be your go-to book for a first contact with service design?
Mm, this is a tricky question because it depends on what you want to do with service design. To be honest, I if I could recommend you your first book to read would be not about service design, would be about systems thinking. So let
Hmm.
me type here. There is a book called The Fifth Discipline, Chapter 5. This is the first reading that I recommend for everybody because it's not about service design, it's about systems. Because every service is a system. And the better you understand systems, the better you understand services. So the approach that we use in SCAD, we don't teach design thinking, we teach systems thinking. So Debbie is, oh my goodness, someone agrees with me. Yes, I agree with you. You are right, Debbie. So
We're not even going to go
design
into
thinking,
it today. We're running out of time, but thank you.
okay, so design thinking is a crap, period. So with systems thinking, that is much better. And this book, Fifth Discipline, Chapter 5, you have introduction that is mind-blowing. Go for it. Read it, and later you tell me if you agree with me.
All right, I'm going to get it on my reading list if it isn't already. Thank you for suggesting that one. So, since we're just about out of time for today, and thank you so much for all of this information and the visuals and the ideas. Any last comments or things you want to say, and how can people get in touch with you?
All right, so thanks for coming. It was a pleasure. I love to talk about service design, design, systems thinking. I'd like to share in the chat my uh, LinkedIn profile, so just in case you want to reach me, so you can send additional questions for me later. You can follow me in LinkedIn. I always publishing posts and articles about the service design world, and it will be my pleasure to be your host in this world.
Thank you. And just for the people who might be consuming this now or later, you can find Ricardo on LinkedIn. His name is spelled Ricardo. Of course, I'm giving you English letters. M as in Mary, A-R-T as in Thomas, I-N as in Nancy, S as in Sierra. So track him down there, follow him. Some posts in English, some in Portuguese, but why not learn Portuguese and communicate with Ricardo and all of his fans? Thank you so much again for joining us. I hope we'll have you back at some point for something deeper. Oh, someone is raising their hand. We were just going to wrap up. Is there a question you can put in the chat, person who raised your hand? People are like, no, don't go. I have a question. So let's see if we get a question in the chat before we run. But while we wait for that question, I just want to remind everybody that we've got more free webinars coming up. Next Wednesday, our Wednesday webinar series is going to be what I believe continuous discovery research should look like. And it may or may not sound like what other people say it should look like. On October 11, I'm going to be doing my impact map, which we previously did on the Delta CX channel, but we're going to do it freshly in a webinar here. And I'm very excited about our scheduled webinar for Monday, October 23, with two super people I met at a conference in May who are experts on AI. And they're going to explain to us what we should reasonably expect AI to do and why it hallucinates. Oh, sorry, Louis said, not hand up, just trying to give a heart and thank us. All right, well then I will stop the recording and just remind everybody, check out our other events at cxcc.to/events. Join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Find everything on YouTube, and of course, follow Ricardo on LinkedIn. Thanks again, everybody.